raised 3 boys, so they never got to experience a princess, as my dad would call her. My mother was so looking forward to spoiling her, as did my dad. Even at a young age, my mother would take Jenna shopping. They would spend the day doing all kinds of girl things, which made her noticeably happy and thrilled every time she came to visit, which was odd. The times they spent together and the trips they went on were more than even I had experienced. This was how Jenna grew up, visiting her grandparents often, but also traveling the world while on a cruise or sailing out the Mediterranean over several summers and shopping. She was an avid sailor because of my parents and loved her vacations with them every summer. After Jenna was born, my dad decided to buy his second sailboat, and he named the boat the Jenna Marie, after his first and only granddaughter. Those memories are all captured in pictures and videos. My parents were always looking out for Jenna and would help her at every turn, whether it was for advice, support, or just conversation. They were there. It broke my heart to see how this impacted my parents, especially my mother. She lost her only granddaughter, the mother of her only great-grandchildren at the time. It was only 10 months after she lost her grandson, my only other child, Steve. She never got over this loss. Fortunately, I was never able to see the final conviction come to pass, as she had passed away 2 years ago in October of 2021. She passed away peacefully, but never knowing whether her granddaughter got the justice she deserved. That reality is always on my mind. Jenna was a very loving and caring person for her whole life and never got into any real trouble. She was a gift that always gave back with her kind and selfless personality. She was an avid softball player throughout her younger years and all the way through high school. She had so many friends and cared so much. This was something I knew in general, but I was so overwhelmed by the amount of people that came to her wake with so much love for her, it just blew me away. I sat there with tears in my eyes as they played Amazing Grace of the bagpipe, the hundreds of envelopes, inside and out. I was so proud, yet so much pain, as I sat there in complete despair. I knew she was special, but I'd never seen so many people gather for the life of a fallen friend, co-worker, or family. I'm friends with many of her friends now, and throughout this friendship, we started a memorial softball tournament in her honor. This year will be our 8th year, with many of her friends and family participating in helping raise funds for several charities in her memory. All the proceeds donated to these charities. Helping others is what she always did, and so we continue that in her spirit, as she would have done had she been able to.
Big smile, the kindest heart, and a contagious laugh. She saw the best in people that didn't necessarily deserve her kindness, and it was ultimately her fatal flaw. Jenna was taken from us, but he also took pieces of me and all of my family members as well. We are not the same people. We live with worries, stressors, and anxieties that never existed prior to her murder. Though we have attempted to heal, we all remain forever broken by this tragedy. No sentence would be harsh enough for the brutal murders that ended my sister and Christine's lives. No sentence will bring Jenna back. Bring back my sister. Bring back the daughter, granddaughter, mother, aunt, niece, cousin, and friend that we all love and miss so dearly. My request on behalf of all those who loved her and myself is the closest to a life sentence as possible. Jenna doesn't get her life back, and neither should he. Thank you.
In the human body to break, it is so thick. The blow was so severe that it fractured the floor of her skull on both sides. The stabs to her neck and chest, one through the lung, the pulmonary artery, and her aorta. There is evidence that she tried to defend herself, which means she was aware of what you were doing. The theory is at least that she was trying to get away from you and collapsed on the deck, and you continued to pursue her. Now, the defense may have a point that evidence of motive may not be all that strong because the jury's verdict was a reckless second. That is, you were aware of what you were doing and consciously disregarded it. Motive is generally a more important factor when we're talking about a premeditated and deliberate murder. But nevertheless, there was a motive for you doing what you did, and that was you were paranoid. Probably drug-induced, but maybe out of sheer cowardice that Jenna was an informant for the police and your drug dealing was going to come to an end. And you did this to protect yourself and Smoronk and the others who were involved in this business. It probably is not meaningful to speculate as to which of the two women you killed first. It makes most sense to me that you killed Jenna, your primary target, and then had no choice but to kill Christine, your friend, which makes almost no sense to me unless you're a coward, and that's what you did. There is significant evidence that you engaged in planning for these two murders. The painting of the garage windows, I am left with the only thought that that's where you either intended to kill them or dispose of their bodies. That's why you painted the windows. There was some evidence that you were in a significant mental state, maybe the night after or 2 nights later. So your mother takes you to the hospital. But what struck me was the next day you're seen on video and photographs, you are out shopping with your brother, and you appear about as calm as can be. You know exactly what you did, you know exactly what happened to these two women, and you appear to be going about it as if it's a normal day for you. With respect to the falsifying physical evidence charges, the sentence will group those 5 charges together, but they will be a consecutive sentence to reflect that additional criminal conduct and the seriousness of that conduct. Another factor in sentencing is specific deterrence. I don't believe that that is a strong factor in this case, as my sentence will likely result that you spend the rest of your life in prison, and therefore are not likely to commit a significant offense again. In terms of general deterrence, there is no doubt that my sentence will send a strong message to society that this level of brutality will be punished severely. Although the state does recommend certain rehabilitative components to the sentence, rehabilitation is not a significant factor here. You will have the opportunity to engage in programming while in prison, and the warden will have the discretion to reduce minimally your sentence. If I'm not mistaken, the statute allows up to 240 days on each of the sentences, so not significant reductions. And of course, I've taken into account the victim impact statements here. To the family, I know that there is nothing I can do here today that will help you recover the loss of your daughters, your sisters, your cousins, and the mother of the 2 children. I do hope that what it allows for you to do is to understand that there is a sense of justice for this senseless loss, that it may help you as you go forward, that the deaths of Christine and Jenna have been avenged by the system, but I fully understand and cannot begin to fathom the depths of your pain and what you must go through every day. I was struck by Mr. Pellegrini. I just, having a... It is an incredible thing that you have chosen to take into account all of the factors of sentencing. The court imposes the following sentences. In charge ID 1438516C, on the offense of second-degree murder, reckless with extreme indifference, involving the death of Christine Sullivan, the court imposes a sentence to the New Hampshire State Prison for not more than life nor less than 45 years. There is added to the minimum sentence a disciplinary period equal to 150 days for each year of the minimum term of your sentence to be prorated for any part of the year. You have pretrial confinement credit in the amount of 2,657 days. This is a stand-committed sentence beginning today. The court recommends to the Department of Corrections that you screen or assess for drug and alcohol treatment needs. Restitution is imposed in the amount of $2,996 payable to the New Hampshire Victims' Compensation Fund through your correctional facility. The court does find that you do not have the ability to repay the state for the cost of your attorney. You are to participate meaningfully and complete any counseling, treatment, and educational programs as directed by your correctional authority. Subject to the provisions of RSA 651A-22A, the Department of Corrections shall have the authority to award you earned time reductions against your minimum and maximum sentences for successful completion of qualifying programming in your order to be of good behavior. In Charge ID 1438518C, the second-degree murder reckless with extreme indifference involving the death of Jenna Pellegrini, you are sentenced to the New Hampshire State Prison for not more than life nor less than 45 years. This sentence is to be served as follows: stand committed commencing upon your release from 1438516C. This sentence is consecutive to 1438516C. All of the other terms are the same except for the amount of restitution, which is in the amount of $7,417, payable to the Victims' Compensation Fund in the amount of $5,125, and to Jeffrey Bryan in the amount of $2,292. With respect to charge IDs 1438519C to 523C inclusive, 5 counts of falsifying physical evidence, you are sentenced to the New Hampshire State Prison for not more than 7 or less than 3.5 years. There is no time for pretrial confinement credit, and if I didn't say it in the previous second-degree murder charge, the consecutive sentence, there is no time for pretrial confinement credit. This sentence commences upon your release from 1438518C. It is consecutive to 1438518C, and all 5 charges are concurrent with each other. And otherwise, the terms are the same, except there is no restitution on these charges. Those are the 3 state prison sentences that are, the lead sentence is 516C, the others are consecutive to it. I'm going to ask the court security officer if he could approach the bench and deliver to both the state and to Mr. Verrill's counsel the notice of sentence review. Mr. Verrill, sentence review is a panel of 3 Superior Court judges who, if you ask them to, and you must petition within 30 days from today, they can review the sentence that I have imposed here today. They have the independent authority upon review of that sentence to either increase the sentence, decrease the sentence, or to keep the sentence the same. I ask you to stand for just a moment. The sentences that I have read into the record are hereby imposed. You are remanded to the custody of the sheriff to delivery to the state prison. Attorney Nye, are there any legal objections to the sentence?
No, Your Honor.
Attorney Hinckley, are there any legal objections to the sentence?
No. A procedural question, though, Judge. Do you want the state to file amended sentencing forms, or is the court going to do that on its own?
I have already written the sentencing forms. They'll be signed and filed today. All right, thank you, and we are adjourned.
All rise.